Hi tubers, welcome back for another adventure. And it's fall. That means it's time to put away all the toys. And I've been building sheds for years, and I think I finally built one that really works. I've been wanting to put a privacy fence along the back of my driveway, along the bottom of my driveway, so to speak, for a while. And I bought these fence panels and tried to dig and realized that I was on ledge, on rock, right up front. I mean, basically, you're standing on rock. This driveway is more or less on a giant boulder. So there was really no way of breaking through to put the posts in. Also, I wanted to use the snow thrower to toss the snow up and over the fence, so to speak. But that meant that anything I put on the other side of the fence, an all-terrain vehicle, whatever, you can't just put your snowblower on high and toss 500 pounds of snow on it. The fenders get broken. So with that, I'm thinking to myself, boy, if I make a shed and make the back wall of the shed this fencing, and the side wall in this case also, I could put this whole thing up, use the inside for storage, go with metal roofing on the top, and have the best of all worlds. Now, if you guys remember, I kind of built half of it, and the other thing that makes this shed great is you can do it in a modular way. I built, this is 8x8 from a roofing point of view, from a base point of view, it's 8x7. So I did the first 8x8 and I put some stuff in it, and I really wanted to see if it would hold up for the winter, to see if everything, you know, if it would fall down, if it would be less secure and all that. And it turns out it held up really well. I had this wall, this fence panel, weight bearing to some extent, and I noticed at the end of the winter it did start to bow a little bit. So I reinforced it. You can see the 2x4 and the inside 2x4 and all that, right? So now basically what this thing is a pole barn with the fencing around the perimeter. The fencing is more or less the slots you would put up as a pole barn. And that worked out very well. I mean, this thing is rock solid, right? You ain't moving it. And by doing things like notching, carrying things to the base, stuff like that really helps. Putting corners in like over there. And to be honest, I initially put this shelf in as a way of reinforcing this corner when it was the 8x8. I have since extended it. You can see the 2x4s go across, right? The roofing goes like that, starting from the top. The 2x4s have 4-inch Phillips coming in like this, and you can see this extra 1x1 round underneath to help keep them up. This is a 2x6. I probably could have got away with, by the way, a 2x4, then a 2x4 like that, and let these rest on it, and then once again put a jack stud underneath it and do it that way. So not only did I set this up with the shed, and we'll talk about how much you could put in there. On this wall here, I set up somewhat of a tire rack. It's not completed yet. And then I matched the tires up to either what matches and what doesn't match. And I set them up over here. Eventually I put this on top, and there'll be a little piece of metal roofing over it to keep the tires somewhat dry and to allow the bees to build all kinds of nests up here so I get stung in the winter. I put a couple of extensions, you see, which holds up that side. And you can see I set up that side of the fencing to hold up also, right? So a couple of extensions out from the shed. So this corner, this side of the fencing is rock solid. This also helps reinforce it, right? This whole thing. And then that corner, I have the post supported with a cinder block and that 2x4 there to kind of keep everything stable and rock solid from that side. So I have 32 feet worth of fencing now across the bottom of the driveway. So as you look down my driveway, all you see now is the fencing. And from the road, you really can't make out that there's a roof on top of it. But even if they do, I believe these open buildings like this really don't count for anything. Let's talk about some construction details for the base. I made 2 stringers, right? 2x4 upright with a base underneath it, right? Put Phillips heads, decking screws to set that up. And then these going across are the floor rafters, so to speak. 16 on center, no big surprise. So once again, 2 rails, and then pressure treated, 16 on center. One of these is 4x8 and one is 3x8. I just cut a strip off. I want it, if you see the roofing sticks out a little further than that, that way it trips off. And also, I'm thinking of setting this plastic gutter up like this, right? So the water gets further away, drips off at the distance. In 7x16, you could see 1, 2, 3, 4 machines. Without that shelf there, it could have been 5. I put a couple of mini bikes in, right? And if I continue with the shelf across, perhaps at a different height, I continue putting some other stuff on there. It's handy though right now with the way it is, because I can like walk right in, right? Not a problem. From a height point of view, if you're familiar with the fencing, these are 6x8 panels. And I wanted to jack them up a little bit, right? I didn't just want them to go straight to the ground, because then by the time you step on the platform, which is 8 inches tall, plus the plywood, you'd be only looking at 5'3" in the tallest spot. And I'm not the tallest guy in the world, but I'm much more than 5'3" in the tallest spot. And especially when you subtract another 4 inches, it'd be 5 foot at the tallest. So the way I set it up is you have a cleat all around the edge, right? And then if you kind of look at it, so you got the cleat, there you go, and then you got a the 1x1, and on top of the 1x1 there is then a 2x4 on the side, and that brings you to the bottom rail of the fencing. Maybe you could see it a little better right there. So you got the cleat, the 1x1, 2x4, and that takes you to the bottom rail of the fencing. And then you just kind of tilt the fencing up on that. You could attach the fencing on the bottom, right? You have about 1 inch that goes into the base. right on up, and there you go. The roof does not have much of a pitch on it. It didn't appear to be a problem this winter. I was wondering, without much of a pitch on it, if water was going to kind of get in between the panels and give me a wet seam. It does not seem to do that. It seems that just the panels pressed down against each other, they seem to make somewhat of a pretty watertight seam. I mean, I'm sure if there was a foot of wet snow on there, it might figure out, especially if one blocked it so it wasn't draining properly. I'm sure some water would get underneath there. I did not seal that seam. Theoretically, I could, but I didn't bother. So from a storage point of view, you guys could see I threw like that pile of chairs and desks right in front of it, and you know, some stuff fell over, but one could walk right in here and get to everything. This LT230, I mean, the nice thing is, once I got it in here, I was able to spend a few minutes with it, and I realized I needed to order tubes for the front tires. So I did. Hopefully they're here soon. I'll put them in. They're ready to go. My buddy Steve set me up with that seat. The red and the orange actually go pretty well together, right? They almost look like they're the same color. So anyhow, I'll get that on there. Then this is a runner, as in turnkey, start up, and take it out to run. I don't know if it was this one or the other one that I had to do back bearings on, but anyway, so I could even, if I had to, quite honestly, roll one of these out of here and work in here. If it's shady or rainy or whatever, I can just cuddle right up to the machine and work on it. I'm able to walk, if I'm on the ground, standing on the ground, I'm able to walk under that. This one here, I'll bump my head on, and this one I'll bump my head on, but I'm able to get under this guy. Oh, no, I just barely catch that. I'm able to get under those, so where these aren't, I could, you know, this guy I'm barely touching, and if I'm standing on the platform here, you know, obviously I'm touching, but if I step down, I'm not, so I'm able to get around underneath there. Once again, if you're 6'6", perhaps this shed is going to be a little short for you. I'll go through the price list in a minute. There's another detail of, you know, the wood panels on the base. Once again, the stringers on the way in. All right, let me get the my parts breakout, so to speak. As you can anticipate, I used many hex hardware with the gasket to put down the roofing. Used quite a few Phillips head, you know, 3-inch, 2.5-inch, some 4-inch stuff, putting everything together. So quite a bit of hardware. I normally buy that by open box at garage sale, so it's not too much. Anyway, so 8x16 shed. I needed 8 metal roofing panels, 20 bucks each. That wasn't bad. 30 2x4x8 standards at 4 bucks each, 120. 10 2x2x8s. They're actually 1x1x8s. They were about 3 bucks each. 30. 4. I didn't actually use the 4th panel over there. I went with some scrap Texture 111 I had floating around. But if you go through 4 panels, the panels got more expensive. They're 75 bucks each for the pressure treated ones. I think when I bought these, they were like $39.95, so that went up quite a bit. The floor 4x8 by 5/8. I used actual plywood, and I think it was 4 or 5 ply. I'm not sure. Might be 5 ply. So anyway, they were $30. That's $120. Two 1x6x8 pressure treated. I put those on the top of the fencing up here. You can see it, right? And you can see the roof above it. I didn't want to just let the roof panels kind of hang, so I came up with two of those, so it was only $14. 2x6x8. They were $9 each. That's these guys, right? You could see what I did with them. And 22. 2x4x8 pressure treated, and that was the base and the rails and all that. So that was $88. So that's $860, 8.25% by me. That's $929. Figure some hardware. So you're looking at just under $1,000 for this shed. Now, I don't know what you guys pay for sheds pre-built. The pre-built ones are definitely nicer than this, quite a lot nicer. This is kind of a hack it up in the backyard kind of shed, but for $1,000 and probably about 4 days work for me, 4 or 5 days work, you can put it together. With 2 guys, you could probably do it in 2 days without too much trouble. So that's what they run. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I built many sheds over the years, and this one being wide open and so forth just seems to work so much better for me. Given the fact that it's not a mile deep, it's just easier to get things out of and less of a tendency to block everything in. It also installed my fencing for me, so this really did a lot. When it comes to security, I never seem to leave the house anymore, so always here, seems. And there's cameras. And if I am not here, typically I have somebody stay with the house, so there's kind of always eyes. So I'm not too worried about somebody, walking around back and taking stuff. Also, once I get this whole place cleaned up, I'm probably going to park the truck sticking into here, which means not only do you have to get them out, but you got to drive completely around the house and through the obstacle course to get them into the car. Once again, passing cameras and alarms on the way. So I'm not too worried about security. Anyway, I want to thank everybody for dropping by to watch and comment. And by the way, none of this stuff is really worth all that much, so why would anybody steal it? Anyway, I'd like to ask everybody, or thank everybody for watching and commenting. Please remember, feet down, heads up, and get out and enjoy each and every day. You can probably tell I'm tired, so such is life. Once again, feet down, heads up, get out and have fun. Bye now.